Since the dawn of time, mankind has been mystified by the natural phenomenon our world has to offer. From spectral orbs crackling in the sky to stones that travel vast distances all on their own, these occurrences were first considered paranormal in origin. But through the advent of modern science, researchers have slowly begun to peel back the veil on these once unexplainable events. Here are 10 mysterious phenomena finally explained. Perhaps the most mysterious phenomenon of all is that you haven't clicked that red subscribe button or activated notifications yet. You're just 2 clicks away from a world of discovery the hub has to offer. Mysticism. Imagine yourself sailing on a fishing ship somewhere off the coast of northern Norway. It's a beautiful day without a cloud in the sky, when suddenly the ocean around you opens up into a massive swirling vortex. You, my friend, have just encountered the mysticism. Legends of this phenomenon are well known throughout Norway, with references appearing as far back as the 13th century Old Norse poetic Edda. The mysticism are most commonly known by the Nordic word maelstrom, actually served as Edgar Allan Poe's inspiration for his 1841 tale, A Descent into the Maelstrom. Unlike more common whirlpools that appear in confined straits or rivers, the mysticism occurs in an open sea and is generated through a combination of ocean tides, strong local winds, and underwater topography. The massive diurnal tides there rise and fall up to 13 feet twice a day. These flows then smash against a seabed ridge that forces the current upward, resulting in the now legendary eddies that form around the island edge. With flows reaching upwards of 12.5 miles per hour, the mysticism may not be the setting for a climactic pirate battle, but the swirling waters still manage to attract hordes of tourists every year. Sailing stones. Have you ever torn the house apart searching for something, only to hear someone remark, "Well, it couldn't have just gotten up and walked away"? After all, one of the fundamental aspects of inanimate objects is that they're, well, inanimate. Sir Isaac Newton put it best in Writings of Principia Mathematica. Every object in a state of uniform motion tends to remain in that state of motion unless an external force is applied to it. Basically, everything in the universe needs a push or a pull in order for it to move or change direction. So how on earth do the sailing stones of Racetrack Playa appear to travel hundreds of yards all on their own? The actual mechanism is even cooler than you might think. For nearly 100 years, scientists have researched this phenomenon, and have only recently come to definitively agree on this mechanism behind the mystery. It turns out that the rocks are carried by tiny layers of ice that form across the valley on cold nights. When the morning sun begins to melt these sheets, the shade of the rocks preserve minuscule ice rafts that act as frictionless sleds. The powerful winds of the valley nudge the rocks along at speeds up to 16.5 feet per minute. See, we told you it was cool. Waterspouts. The ancient Greeks attributed the appearance of waterspouts to mythological beasts known as harpies. For anyone familiar with the God of War series, we're sorry for dredging up any horrible memories of these winged terrors. Thankfully, the real-world appearance of waterspouts has nothing to do with bird-human hybrids, and everything to do with good old-fashioned atmospheric dynamics. The most common non-tornadic waterspouts typically occur when a region of cold air flows across a body of warm water. The large temperature difference between the regions begin to create swirling convection currents, as the extra thermal energy in the water wants to transfer into the cooler air. The currents increase in speed, creating a light-colored disk at the water's surface amidst a dark-colored region. Soon after, light and dark spiral bands begin to form above the darker spot. Then, a burst of sea spray, known as a cascade, appears around the dark spot with a visibly clear center. Eventually, the funnel of the waterspout rises upwards from the water's surface, all the way towards the overhead cloud. These vortexes can sometimes rise to the heights of several hundred feet or even higher. Eventually, the inflow of warm water dissipates, and the waterspout fades back into the sea. Bioluminescent beaches. What's more romantic than a moonlit stroll along a tropical beach with the love of your life? How about strolling along a moonlit beach, where the stars aren't only twinkling above you, but below you as well? That's right, on beaches all across the globe, there's a good chance that you might encounter these ghostly, shimmery lights in the sands and beaches beneath the waves. But don't worry, these lights aren't caused by any vengeful spirits. The mechanism behind them is actually no different than what powers the lightning bugs you might find floating above your lawn: bioluminescence. Bioluminescence is basically a chemical process that occurs in certain creatures that causes section of their bodies to light up, similar to how a glow stick works. What scientists have struggled to pinpoint until recently is the exact biological trigger in phytoplankton that sets these stunning lights shows into motion. It turns out that there are tiny channels inside the phytoplankton that allow only protons to pass into collection chambers. As the organisms are jostled in the surrounding water, positive electrical impulses bounce around the proton-filled compartments. These reactions then set off a complex series of chemical reactions, ultimately activating the protein known as luciferase, which produces the spectral neon blue light. Now, if only we could get some of that protein when we're fumbling around in the dark looking for a light switch. Hessdalen Lights. If you find yourself traveling along rural central Norway's 7.5-mile-long Hessdalen Valley one night and witness a brilliant silent orb of light floating just above your head, don't be alarmed. What you've just witnessed is one of the famed Hessdalen Lights, with reports dating back to at least the 1930s. The Hessdalen Lights have baffled scientists and drawn UFO enthusiasts to the far region for nearly a century. So far, no one has 100% agreed on any one explanation for this phenomenon. Currently, hypotheses range from combustible gas pockets to radioactive crystals suspended in plasma, to, of course, UFOs. One theory that's been gaining traction in the scientific community, however, comes from Jader Monari of the Institute of Radioastronomy in Medicina, Italy. Intrigued by the large concentration of zinc, iron, and copper found in the valley, Monari constructed a model using samples he had collected. When he dunked the samples into the sulfur-laden river sediment, Monari discovered enough electrical current flowing between the rocks to light a lamp. Dr. Monari believes the light may be a result of bubbles of ionized gas, created via reactions between the river's Hessdalen sulfurous fumes and the humid air above the valley. Electrical engineers of Oxford University think that this massive electrical charge needed to illuminate the clouds could be coming from the hillsides themselves. Now all we need is a way to charge our phones off of it. Snow donuts. These natural phenomenon aren't the result of an abominable snowbaker run amok in the Northern Territories. No, these fluffy, rare cylinders of powder are the result of gravity, wind, and precise climatic conditions. Snow donuts, also known as snow rollers, are more commonly formed when a clump of snow falls from some height, like a tree or cliffside, into the snowpack below. If that snow happens to fall onto a steep hillside, there is a chance the inertia of the clump could carry it forward, building up as it rolls downward. Because of this, most snow donuts are found in hilly areas. In order for the incredibly rare flatland snow donuts to appear, however, a few crucial conditions must be met first. First, there must be a relatively thin surface layer of wet, loose snow, sitting just below the melting point. Secondly, this thin layer of wet snow must be sitting atop a layer that it will not stick to, such as ice or light powder. Third, the wind needs to be blowing at just the right speed, fast enough to get the roller moving, but not quite fast enough to blast the fledgling traveler apart. It's kind of like trying to eat an actual powdered donut. Reign of animals. We've all heard the saying, it's raining cats and dogs. But did you know that there are actually hundreds of occurrences throughout recorded history of various creatures raining down from the sky? Documented reports of this phenomenon date as far back as the 1st century CE. Tales of downpours consisting of frogs, fish, and even snakes pop up throughout history. But it wasn't until the turn of the 19th century when scientists began to take the idea seriously. French physicist André-Marie Ampère suggested that violent winds could pick up frogs and toads that roam around the countryside in large numbers and carry them great distances. A more likely and generally accepted scientific theory is built around the occurrence of tornado waterspouts. Since tornadic waterspouts first form above land and then move into the water, their powerful updrafts carry the potential to transport animals to relatively high altitudes. Since the type of animals commonly attributed to these phenomena are small, light, and often aquatic in nature, there's no wonder the tornadic waterspout theory has gained traction. Green flash. You may have heard about this mysterious occurrence while watching Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, and thought to yourself, that sounds ridiculous. But would you be surprised to learn that the mythical green flash is actually a real, perfectly explainable event? Green flashes are no more than optical phenomenon that sometimes occur right before sunset or immediately after sunrise. If conditions line up just perfectly, a brilliant green spot is made to be visible, floating just above the very top of the sun's golden disk for no more than a few seconds. On even stranger occurrences, these green flashes can appear like a bright green ray rising up from the horizon. No, these flashes are not spiritual in origin. The flashes are actually caused by a process known as atmospheric refraction, which can cause the sun's light to separate out into different colors, kind of like a rainbow. Green flashes are more commonly witnessed on days when the air is nice and clear, allowing more of the sun's light to reach the observer without being scattered. There are many types of flashes, all depending on atmospheric conditions given on a day, including subduct flashes, mock mirage flashes, inferior mirage flashes, and the rarest of all, blue flashes. Penitente. While these wild ice formations may look like something from an entirely different world, they can in fact be found right here on our cosmic doorstep. Penitentes, derived from the Spanish term nieves penitentes, meaning penitent-shaped snows, are usually found only at very high altitudes. Originally detailed by Charles Darwin in 1839, penitentes are named for their striking resemblance to the pointed habits and hoods worn by crowds of religious monks, kneeling and performing religious penance. In order for these very recognizable structures to form, several climatic conditions must be met. First, the dew point of the region must remain below freezing at all times, allowing the surrounding snow to sublimate, meaning it passes directly from its solid state to a gaseous one, and back again. Once this process begins, the structure of the evolving penitente produces a positive feedback loop, which traps thermal energy within its reflective surface. The actual math behind it is incredibly complicated, but in the most basic terms, these reflections and heat traps loop back upon one another until you are left with these ghostly fields of ice crystals. Columnar jointed volcanics. Most commonly known for the steep, jutting features of Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland, the exact geological process behind columnar jointed volcanics is almost as intriguing as their surreal appearances. Columnar jointing is most commonly found in deposits of volcanic basalt. After lava erupts into the Earth's surface, it immediately begins to cool. This cooling process occurs from the outside moving in, which creates a great deal of stress in the lava structure, as the outer layers begin to contract, while the hot magma from within continues to expand outwards. This incredible stress causes long fracture lines, usually in symmetrical patterns that extend great distances as the now spent lava flows cool. Over eons, these lava flows are pushed and pulled by all sorts of geological processes, and sometimes eroded away by the sea, like in the case of Giant's Causeway. As the flows are exposed, they tend to break apart along the stress fracture lines that formed where they originally froze. I guess even Mother Earth gets stress lines in her features too. We hope you enjoyed this brief look into these mysterious natural phenomena that are finally explained. Which of these phenomena would you most want to experience? And are there any we missed? Let us know in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe to The Hub for all the latest, greatest discoveries. Bye for now.